The house seemed empty, but it wasn't. There was a presence in the air, something unseen, only felt. The silence was thick, as if it absorbed the noise from outside, muffling even the sound of her own thoughts. The curtains swayed without wind, and the wall clock, stuck at 3:17 a.m., seemed to mock time itself. That's where it all began, at the precise moment where reality started to slip. In the center of the living room, a phone rested on the glass table, its screen still lit up with the last message received, LOL. No reply after that, no explanation, just the cold trace of another abandoned conversation. Her name was Emily, and behind the smile she showed on social media, there was a loneliness far too loud to ignore. She wasn't popular, but she knew how to blend in. She had learned how to laugh at the right time, say the expected things, reply with just the right number of emojis. She'd mastered the art of being accessible without being invasive, interesting without being intense. Yet somehow, nearly every interaction ended with a lull, followed by silence. Her bedroom lights flickered as she walked past, like the house was breathing. It was a night like so many others, a notification, a spark of hope. Someone replied, a beginning, a flicker, and then, lull, and nothing more. Again and again and again. People don't just disappear, they fade. First, the excitement, then the interest. Finally, their presence. It was always like that, with school friends, co-workers, flings that came in waves and vanished like mist. Emily wasn't forgotten. She was discarded. At first, she blamed others. Then she blamed herself. She started tweaking her tone, her style, the color of her online presence. Lighter photos, captions with double meanings, short replies, long replies, profiles revised dozens of times. Eventually, the changes reached deeper inside her, and not for the better. One morning, Emily woke up and realized she didn't cry anymore. It wasn't relief. It was emptiness. She no longer missed anyone, because she no longer expected anything from anyone. It was like she had accepted a silent sentence, to be invisible while screaming inside. That's when she started writing letters. Not to send, just to understand. Raw confessions in notebooks no one would ever read. Long entries, always ending with the same question. What did I do wrong? Followed by, why does everyone reply with LOL and disappear? One of those days, she visited a new coffee shop in downtown Spokane, the kind of place that looked like a movie set. Tattooed baristas, dim yellow lights, and indie music humming in the background. She sat by the window and opened her journal. Beside her, a girl was reading The Perks of Being a Wallflower. Emily smiled at the coincidence. Or maybe it wasn't a coincidence. That afternoon, instead of writing, she started observing. She noticed the couples who looked at each other like the world didn't exist. The middle-aged man reading a newspaper like it was still 1997. And the teenagers, laughing loudly, typing non-stop, probably replying lol to someone. Back home that night, she reread her notes, scrolled through old screenshots, conversations that began with curiosity and ended with LOL. It had become a signature, a polite way of saying, this is over. Bye. Over time, she realized something odd. The LOL was never about her. It was about them. It was the nervous laugh of someone afraid to go deeper. A polite escape disguised as friendliness. A period pretending to be a comma. From then on, Emily flipped the script. Instead of waiting for the reply, she would vanish first. She'd laugh, type lol, and disappear. It was her turn to flee. But it didn't feel like power. It felt like emptiness. Because the real issue was never who left. It was the absence of anyone willing to stay. One night, the lights flickered again. 3:17 a.m. She looked at herself in the hallway mirror and barely recognized the reflection. No makeup, no filters. Just a young woman tired of pretending everything was fine. And in that moment, like a crack in reality, she saw herself at age 9, sitting on a swing, asking her mom why the other kids never invited her to play. Flash. Back to the present. Flash. At 16, waiting for a reply from someone who promised to go to the dance with her and vanished. Flash. At 22, laid off via a cold email after a year of silent struggle. The memories didn't return like gentle recollections. They hit like flashes, sharp cuts, half-digested moments that came back like thorns that never left her skin. That S when Emily understood. She had spent her life decoding messages that were never meant to mean anything. LOL wasn't a secret code. It was a mirror, reflecting the shallowness of an entire generation, terrified of depth, commitment, real connection. She wasn't the problem. She was the exception. The next morning, she deleted all her social apps, kept her phone just for the clock and the camera, and when someone asked where she'd gone, she'd simply reply, "Living for real," where no one replies with LOL. Weeks passed, then months, and Emily changed. Not by becoming cold, but by becoming selective. Instead of begging for scraps of attention, she started building real presence wherever she went. She no longer tried to please. She simply existed. At first, people were confused. Some reached out with messages like, "Why'd you disappear?" She read them. She smiled. She didn't reply. She didn't need to. One afternoon, in a local bookstore, she met a photographer, quiet, observant. He didn't use emojis. He didn't type LOL. When he laughed, it was real. And that's when Emily got it. The problem was never laughter. It was the lack of intention behind it. The world is full of cheap laughs, but starving for meaning. The lights in her house stopped flickering. The clock started ticking again. And though conversations still ended, they didn't end with LOL. They ended with presence, with connection. Emily was no longer ignored. Not because she got louder, but because she finally learned to listen to herself. And if you've ever asked yourself, why does everyone reply with LOL and disappear? Maybe the answer lies less in what they say and more in what you allow. Sometimes laughter is just a way to leave without saying you're running away. But other times, silence is where those live who finally learn to stop begging for presence. And maybe, just maybe, you're ready to leave behind the hollow laugh and step into your own truth. Because those who laugh too much for no reason are probably just hiding how often they've been ignored too.